Hi, good people. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I want us to see how to go around the research design, and the discussion today is how to choose the right design for your study. That is, how to get the best research design fit for your either research project, dissertation, or your thesis. So, choosing the right research design is essential to the success of any academic study. That one is for sure. But just as there are many different academic disciplines, there are also different research designs. And we shall be trying to go through them and see how we can be able to maneuver around and get the right research design. So choosing the right design is very, very much challenging. And this one, the postgraduate and even the graduate students and even the professional researchers can actually attribute to this, and because actually the research design is the one that determines the success of your work. So let us take a look at what the research design, why we need it, and also the factor involved in determining or when you want to select the research design. And we're going to see a few research designs which we can select from, and that one will take us to the next level to be able to understand how best we can be able to come up with our best research design for our dissertation or for our thesis. So in this episode, we're going to see what is the research design, the factor involved, and how you can be able to select the best design for your dissertation and why. So come with me and let us move in and see what is research design. So research design is basically the strategy that you are going to put across to help you in answering your questions. In other words, we are saying it will help you to determine how you'll find out the information that you want to know. Because at the end of the day, there is something that you're looking at. And that's why you have structured your questions to help you get the answer to the information that you're looking at. So once you have chosen your research topic, your research objectives, you will need to select the research design or the methodology or the approach to figure out how to achieve these objectives. This will help you to figure out how to achieve these objectives. And this makes it very important for any dissertation, for any thesis, for any research project, and for anyone who is in the profession trying to get some information and you are carrying out a research. So you need to decide on the methodology that you are going to put across that will help you to answer the questions that you are looking to answer and to be able to solve that problem. Therefore, what should your research design explain? What is it that your research, why is it that you're interested to come up with the best research design? So, one of the reasons why that you need to select the best research design is because, one, what kind of data you collect. Your research design will help you to be able to know the kind of the data that you are going to collect. It will determine whether it will be the primary data or the secondary data that you are going to collect. And the point number two, who will you collect data from? So it will help you to determine who is your population and the sample, from whom specifically the sample, who will be answering if you're going to use a questionnaire. If you're going to have an interview, who are you going to interview? If you're going to carry a survey, how are you going to carry out that survey? If you're going to correct the secondary data, where will you correct that secondary data? Who will be your respondent? So that is why it is very important to determine the best research design. And the other point, how you correct the data. Whether it is a survey, it is an interview, it is a questionnaire, it is whatever. It will have to explain that. It will have to bring it out clearly how you correct the data. The other point is your data collection procedures. Will you do it online? Will you go in person? How will you correct that data? So your research design will actually articulate in a very cohesive manner how you will correct your data. Some people will do it online. Then how will you do it online? If it is in person, will you take this questionnaire? Will you go in person? Will you do a focus group discussion so that you correct your information? And the other point, the research design will help you to know how you analyze the data. How will you analyze that data? Will you do statistical analysis? How you do your interpretation? Will you do simple regression analysis, multiple regression analysis, econometrics analysis, all those things? It will help you to figure out how you are going to carry out that research design. So having out the best research design, and people most of the time they interchangeably use it as a research methodology. It is very, very key, and because that is the heart of your research. If you do it wrongly, you will get the wrong answer. You will not be able even to analyze your data. Sometimes I have seen students, even postgraduate, being in a dilemma after they have finished their proposal. They don't know how now they are going to correct the data. Or they find it that the respondent who are to answer their questions are very hostile. They don't know where now to correct the data. Simply because you did not design well your research methodology. The research design that you selected is not workable, and that one can give you a lot of challenge in your proposal. Your research might stack up to that point, and you need to go back and you start restructuring afresh your methodology, your research design, because it is not workable. The next point that you're going to look here is that we have three broad categories of research methodology that basically we use in our dissertation, in our thesis, and our research project when we want to analyze the data. It is either you're doing a qualitative research, you're doing a quantitative, or you're doing a mixed method where you're combining the qualitative and the quantitative together. So the question is here, so let us see what is a qualitative. A qualitative research is more focused on understanding the briefs, the concepts, and the thoughts, and it tends to lie more on the interviews, library views, and exploration of the theory. So qualitative is basically where you're going to analyze qualitative information, and you must be very careful for you to understand how to analyze qualitative data, because this is where we do a lot of mistakes. You go and you correct your qualitative data, and because you said you're going to use a mixed method, you don't know how you're going now to integrate the two so that you're able to solve your research questions. So which method are you going to use? Thematic analysis, content analysis, and others. And if you want to know more about that, I have explained in one of my videos about these qualitative and quantitative methods. And I explain more about the types of qualitative method that you can use in your research. So you can check out on that video. It can assist you to understand how to analyze qualitative data. Then the other one is about quantitative data. It focuses on understanding numbers, and it relies on graphs, statisticals, and numerical data. Basically, what you're saying here, you're analyzing quantitative data. And this quantitative data is very important because it is going to help you to answer your questions. So you must be very careful the type of the data that you're going to collect. The other one is the mixed method. The mixed method is where you're going to combine qualitative and quantitative. And this is where I was saying, in most of the time, you need to understand how you are going to blend them together. If you're going to collect quantitative data, and on the other hand, you're going to collect qualitative data, how are you going to blend this data together so that it can help you to answer your questions? So that is a key point that you need to understand. The next point is, so how do you decide which research design to use? That is the most difficult questions that many postgraduate, undergraduate, and even the professional researchers find themselves in. How do you decide, am I going to use quantitative, qualitative, I'm going to use the mixed method, or I'm going to use any other, because there are so many other methods that as we are going to see. So there are several factors that you need to consider that can help you to determine the best research design for your project, for your dissertation, or for your thesis. So there are several factors you need to look at, and you're going to see several of them, or a few of them, maybe 3 or 4 of them, that can help you to decide on the research design that you are going to use. And one of them is the nature of your research. The nature of your research. So the first is the nature of your research. So what is it that you want to find out? That is a question you should be asking yourself, depending on the nature of your research. What is it that you want to find out? That one you must be able to answer. Are you looking for statistics or numbers? Are you looking for statistics or numbers? That one you must be able to answer. Or do you need an in-depth information about people's first-hand experience? Maybe you want to study how to be best be supported with the both method. Or maybe your study will be best supported by the both method. So what is it that you are looking at? So to select the best research design methodology, or the research design that you want, you should first look at what kind of information you need and how you'll analyze in order to answer your research questions. So this is where many postgraduate, undergraduate, and even professional researchers fail, because they go and they select just any research design, but when it comes now to look at that, to go and correct that information and analyze it, they don't know. So if you don't know the kind of the information, do you need a primary information? Or you want a secondary information, or you want both? Then you should ask yourself behind your mind, how am I going to analyze this information? So that you don't get mixed up and you fail to answer your research questions. So you must be able to know the nature of your research by understanding the kind of the data that you are looking at and how you are going to analyze it. Do I need the first-hand information? Do I need to do an in-depth analysis to understand some phenomena, to understand the behavior of the people, to understand the perception of the people, to understand the beliefs of the people? Then automatically that tells you, I need to get the primary information. Then how am I going to analyze that information? Am I going to do the content analysis, the thematic analysis, or all other methods? So you need to understand the nature of the information that you need for you to be able to get the right research design that you're going to put in your methodology. So when you're designing your methodology, you need to know the nature of your research. So how do you decide which research design to use? So I've prepared a table here between the qualitative and the quantitative. So basically, when you are looking at qualitative, we are looking at, you want to explore the beliefs and the opinion and concepts of the people. So if that is what you're looking at, then you should go for qualitative. Qualitative it uses small sample size. So if you're looking to analyze qualitative data, then you have to know that you don't need a very large sample, because it will give you challenge. Imagine you have selected, you want to get opinion of the people, and how do you get this one? You are going to organize interviews. So for how long can you do an interview? For how long will you interview people? How many people can you interview? If you say you're going to interview 200 people, is it possible? For how long? So you need to know that if you're going to use qualitative data, you need a small sample. But if I'm going to use a quantitative, which explores the numbers, the statistics, the measurable data, the numerical data, then it needs a large sample. It needs a large sample for you to be able to get the clear picture of the nature of the things that you are looking at, or what you are trying to explore, what you are trying to unearth. So the methods that you can use in qualitative is you can do literature review, focus groups, key information interviews, and you can do theory analysis. But when it comes to quantitative, you can do survey analysis by analyzing the existing data sets and experiments. You can do a desktop study by analyzing what other people have done and be able to get the gaps where they are. Also, when it comes to qualitative analysis, and the analysis is interpretative rather than quantitative, and often involves categorization or summarizing the information from the interviews. But when it comes to the quantitative, you do a quantitative analysis, and it is very objective, statistical based, and you can also use software to be able to analyze that, because you have collected figures. You have collected figures, and it becomes very easy for you to analyze that. So the second point that should guide you in determining the best research methodology or the research design that you are going to use that will help you to be able to answer your questions at the objective is the norms of your academic discipline. You should be able to understand what are the traditions of your academic disciplines. So if you're like in fields like medicine, like biology, like chemistry, physics, economics, finance, engineering, it is likely that a quantitative research design will best answer your research questions. That's right. So if you're in those fields that need they deals with the numbers, they deal with quantitative numbers, they deal with the numerical numbers, you'll find it very easy that in that discipline, in those fields, you realize that the study is being analyzed using quantitative methods. And that is the reason why you need to do an in-depth literature review, and you see and you understand what other people have used in your area and why. So if you're in areas like humanities, social sciences like psychology, sociology, literature, or education, those areas are more inclined towards qualitative approaches because they want to understand the behavior of the people. They want to understand the opinion of the people. Why students behave like this? Why people believe in this in the society? And those ones, you can best get it by doing a qualitative analysis. And you can go ahead and analyze it using content analysis, thematic analysis, because there is something that you want to understand from them, which is qualitative. So you must be able to understand what are the traditions, what are the norms in your field of study, so that you don't just jump to an area and you use the method that cannot fit in those areas. But remember, all these disciplines, sometimes they incorporate the mixed method approach. You can be able to incorporate the mixed method approach. For example, you're in finance and you're looking at, you're using what you call the behavioral finance. You are studying the behavior of the investors. So sometimes you can correct the primary data, and therefore you are going to use qualitative analysis. And you can combine with a quantitative data. So you are not prohibited from your field of discipline of study or the traditions and the norms of your discipline, but you must be able to understand very clearly what your area of study says. What is the norms? What is the traditions? And that calls you, before you embark on coming up with your research methodology, understand your discipline. Do a thorough, in-depth literature review and be able to understand your discipline. What does it require in terms of the research methodology that you're supposed to use? Finally, you should be able to consider the resources available to you. That is point number 3. For you to be able to select the research design that you require, what resources are available for your disposal? Do you have the enough resources that you require to carry out that analysis? And I gave an example. If you're using qualitative analysis and you're doing interview, and you are a postgraduate student doing a master degree, and you are required to finish your study within a certain period of time, maybe within 1 year, you finish your research project, and you're expected to interview 200 CEOs. My question is, when will you get all these CEOs, even the customers? So you need to consider the resource. Do you have the time? Do you have the resources to be able to do that? So you need to consider the timelines and the resources that you have. If your research requires you to interview at least 100 people from each and every county in Kenya, we have 47 counties. So how is that possible? Or you are required to interview at least 100 farmers from each and every county, and you have only 6 months to do that research, complete, defend, and present. How is that possible? Do you have the time? Do you have the resources? Do you have the manpower to be able to go to interview, correct the data, maybe send the questionnaire, go and correct them, come back, analyze, all those things? Do you have the resources? So when you are selecting also the research design that you're going to use, it is very important to put into consideration the resources available for you. You can have a very ambitious plan, a multi-stage study, and it will be very useless if you don't have the time, the money, and the manpower necessary to carry out that work. So planning a very ambitious, a multi-stage study is useless if you don't have the time, the money, and the person power or the manpower necessary to carry out that research. It can be useless. You can have a very ambitious research that you want to carry out, but you don't have time, you don't have money, you don't have manpower to do that work. So you must also consider that. when you are designing your research design. So when you're choosing your research design, make sure that it can be executed within the allocated time frame and within the resources you have. That is very key. It is very, very much important. And this one will help you to avoid using data which you have not collected to the field. And we have seen this in postgraduate studies, undergraduate study, even professionals. They don't go and correct the right data, and therefore the analysis they give out does not reflect what is in the ground. And remember, the essence of carrying out any research is to help in decision making. It is a research that can be implemented in the field, and it can be used to solve the problem we have in the country, the problem we have in the world. And therefore, if you don't have time and money and resources to be able to carry out that research, then you need to figure out the kind of the design that you are going to use to correct what kind of information that will help you to be able to complete your study within the given timelines. So let's go to a more detailed outlook and be able to understand what other different research designs do we have that we can be able to use in answering our research questions, our research objectives. So you need to understand this, that choosing a research designs is not a finished affair. You need to figure out the broader type of research methodology that will fit your study. Remember this, that there is no single either quantitative or qualitative methodology that can answer every research question. And that is why people go for the blended design, the mixed one, because there is no 100% method, whether quantitative or qualitative, that can be able to answer all your questions. So instead, within the quantitative and qualitative and also the mixed method approaches, there are other varieties of specific research designs that we can choose from that can fit whatever we want to do. So it should not be tied within the quantitative and qualitative or mixed method. There are other specific research designs that can fit your work. And that is what we want to see as some of them. So, my viewer, one of the specific research design that we can also include, we have experimental research design, we can have descriptive research design, we can have diagnostic research design, we can have correlation research design, we can have explanatory research design, and others. So let's start by experimental research design. So this research design measures the relationship between variables, and it has a dependent and independent variable, and it can use quantitative or qualitative data when you're doing an experiment. And you find it mostly in the biology, those are doing biology, chemistry, medicine, all those ones. They tend to use experimental research design. Then we have the descriptive research design. This one is theory-based, and it tries to answer questions about why and how research was performed. Because you want to describe what others have done and why they did it, the method they used, the theory they used, and you're able to know how and where is the problem. Why do we still have the same problem? Why does the same problem continue to persist? And this will help you to get the gap. So you can use a descriptive research design because you want to answer questions about why and how things happen. Why are things happening like this and how? and therefore you can be able now to get the gap and be able to solve your problem. So you can use that. Another one is what you call diagnostic research design. So if you're looking for the cause of a phenomenon, a diagnostic research design can help you identify the cause and the solution. If you're looking for the cause of many accidents happening in a certain highways, then you can use a diagnostic research design to be able to know the causes and also offer the solution. So this one is a very specific research design that you can use to help you to solve the problem. And the other one is the correlation research design. It aims to learn the relationship of two closely related variables. So if your research is basically looking at a very closely related variables, then you can be able to use correlation research design because you'll be able to know the relationship. For example, you're looking the relationship between the performance of the women in the board and the performance of the organization, or the board diversity and the performance of the organization. You can use correlation research design because you want to see what is the influence of having more women in the board vis-a-vis the performance of the organization. So those are very closely related variables. So, and you're looking to go to know the relationship. So you can be able to choose correlation research design, and it will help you. And the other one is explanatory research design. This research design, as the word says, it tries to explore and furthers the existing ideas of the research. So it explores and tries to further what others have done. And it addresses the questions that are left unanswered by the original researchers. So if there is another research that have been done, but there are still unanswered questions, then you can be able to explore so that you can also contribute to the existing knowledge of the research. So these are also very specific research design, which you can also be able to explore and see which one will fit in your work, so that when you start off in collecting your data, in analyzing your data, you'll be able to answer your research questions and objective in a very objective manner and without a lot of hassle. So no matter what type of research questions you are trying to answer, there is a research design that can help you to do that work. It can fit to that work. So you should not be tied by the major three that we have looked at: quantitative, qualitative, and the mixed. No, there is other specific research design that you can explore, you can look at, and see the one that fit your work. So choosing the right research design methodology is key to ensuring that your work is of the highest quality possible. And that is where you start, by ensuring you select the correct research design methodology that will ensure you have the best quality of research that you're going to carry out. So if you don't do that, then you will have done yourself a very, very, very bad starting point of your research. So if you don't choose the right design, you will not be able to get the data and answer that you need to answer, or get the answers that you need. You will not be able to get the correct data, and you will not be able to answer that you need. So what you need to answer and the type of the data you need to answer that what you want to answer, you will not be able to get it. And if you get it, you'll get it wrongly, and your research will be biased, or it will not contribute to the existing knowledge. It will not help in any policy. It will be useless. It will not have any value in the academic, also in the professional. So you need to select the right research design always. So spend your time getting first the research design, structuring the right methodology that you require before you move to the next level of the data collection. So finally, your research designs determines the quality of your work. So get me right from this point. There are so many postgraduate and graduate and even professional researchers that they don't get right in the research design, and therefore remember that is what determines the quality of your work, and the quality of your work will be determined by how you structure your research methodology going down, because it will tell me how the type of the data you have collected, how you collect it, and why, the tools that you are going to use to analyze your data. And that one is very, very much important, because it will give me the confidence to know the quality of the work that you're going to do. So finally, don't forget to like, to share, and also to subscribe, so that the next time I bring out another video like this, you'll be the first one to get it, and it will help you to be able to understand how you can do a better research. So you can share with your colleagues, you can share with your friends, those who are doing research, those who are in universities, those who are doing professional research, so that it can inspire them to be able to know what determines the quality of the work that you're going to do is the research design that they are going to select. So thank you very much. Till next time. Bye.